Hey, good morning. Rob Braun here. Happy Saturday morning to you. Or maybe it's afternoon by now. Gave myself permission to sleep in a bit today, but still maintain my morning ritual, and I'll show more about that with you toward the end right here. Now I know the topic conversation just seems always to be around this pandemic. It was interesting. You didn't see me a week ago. My hair was 3 months, maybe even 4 months. Hadn't been cut, and I was kind of going crazy about that. And so I finally got a chance to go to my stylist because here in California, that phase is allowing the salons to open up, and so I got in there. And what was so interesting, one, I was just really glad to see Tina. I was excited I was going to get my hair cut and get back to feeling normal again. And the first thing she wanted to talk about was, so what do you think about this pandemic? And what I said to her is I go, I can't believe, and I was day 3, so she's been seeing quite a few folks. I go, I can't believe that's what you'd want to talk about. And I know that's what's up. Even a good friend of mine, Ryan, we were on the phone yesterday, and the first part of our conversation, and we get on our call to support each other and find out, what are you working on? What am I working on? How can I support you? Yet the first half of our conversation was taken up by, how are you adjusting, and what are you experiencing in your world, and all of that. So I'm not saying that's a wrong or bad thing, but I know it is. So what I don't want to do is add to your pandemic talk pain, but I also want to offer some perspectives, and as I shared with you, I've been sitting on a lot of this for all these weeks, and now it's time to share some of this. And I told you each day there'd be an invitation. There'd be an invitation to participate, do something, consider a possibility, all of that. So today we are going to talk about the pandemic, or I am, and just the first thing is man, and I say it's ours because we are all in this damn thing. It's just impossible for any of us to be insulated or isolated. Now, are there some folks that manage to have the impact to be less on them than others? Yeah, their situation was. I know of a couple individuals that said, let's just go on vacation till this thing blows over, and they're still gone. And their life is that they're able to do that, and I'm not there yet, but and I know that for some other folks, it has been hell. Like just fucking hell, whether it be with their health, or they actually lost folks, or they lost business. So one thing that is real clear that I got from someone very, very early on is that we are not all in this together, in that not equally. My business, for instance, or our situation, my business went to 100 to 0 instantly. But it didn't put us in a financial situation that we weren't sure if we were going to be able to eat the next day or pay our mortgage or anything like that. We had to be thoughtful. What I did do is I made a couple of personal commitments. One, that I was going to keep my family safe from harm, and that meant physical harm from knuckleheads out there, and also meant health harm. I was going to make sure that we stayed healthy in all this, and that I was going to take care of them financially, and we're able to be able to do that. Now, what I also knew was that even though my business went from 100 to 0, I knew there was no way that my business was not going to make it back. It's that type of business. But I know there's folks out there that have been terrified about being able to open the doors, and there is a lot of businesses that are just gone, and my heart breaks. And I hope that what we're able to do collectively as a society, and I don't know what the answers to that one fully is yet without the federal and state help, but we're really going to need to pull together and help folks come back. And so I know everyone's got their own reality as far as how this impacted. The one thing that has just bothered me is how, and I'm not saying everybody did, but there were folks that started to make this about each other, and whether they politicized it or made it about civil liberties, or made it about whether people choose to or not choose to wear masks and all that shit, and just making it about other people and being mean about it. That's bothered me. That has so bothered me. So one of the invitations I'm gonna ask you to do, and and I may be talking to the choir right here. Like, I like my circle. My circle's got just cool people. And if you're part of my circle, you're probably one of those cool people that just wouldn't consider being an asshole toward other people based on whether they did or did not wear a mask, or how they choose to respond to recommendations by our state authorities and our county authorities and our city authorities and all that. But there's words in a song, I'm forgetting who sings, but it says, I'm going to let you do you and you let me do me. And don't get me wrong, there was a part of me that had like this little edge, when I saw people making the decision to not wear a mask in public places, and I had to just let go of that. It's like, it's really none of my business. As long as your choices are not impacting me and my life, it's really none of my business. It isn't. So, and remember I said yesterday when I got here, there was no part of me that was going to try to convince anybody of anything. I don't want to convince you of anything. Not interested. What I am interested in is all figuring out a way to be able to coexist and move through this thing without making it about each other. This thing, it's torched all of us, and we still don't know what the end game is. That's what Ryan, said to me yesterday. He's like, so where's the end game on this one? And that's what's got everybody freaked out. And I get it. I've done real good about not getting into worry, but I do have my, man, I wonder how this thing's going to roll. I wonder how this is going to turn out, and where are we going to be 1 month, 3 months, 6 months from now? I have concerns without sitting into worry. So the invitation is to, decide to do what you're doing, but do it from a conscientious place. Don't go against something because that's what the governor is recommending or the city officials are recommending. Not once have I wore a mask, not once have I decided to protect myself in a public setting because that's what Gavin said. That's our governor here in California. Or because that's what our county official says. Not once have I. I don't really give a shit. What I have done is I've decided that I'm going to stay healthy. I'm going to wear a mask when I go in public one is to keep me healthy. Now, what I know is if I'm staying healthy, I'm likely not at risk of passing anything along, but I know there's no guarantees. So I'm going to think about you and I'm going to think about me while I'm doing that. And I don't have an issue with that. Not because I'm being told to do that, and no part of me feels like I've got any kind of, and by the way, I see comments coming on there, and I promise I'll respond afterwards. I love that you're engaged right now. That's cool, because I want engagement here. So what I'm choosing to do is look after me and look after you. And the other thing that I'm doing, and this is an offer as well, is we're being bombarded by news sources and commentary and opinions and counter opinions, and the politicians. Fuck the politicians right now. And I'm not saying fuck politics, but let's not listen to them when we're trying to make decisions for ourselves, especially around our health, whether it be our physical health, our physical health, our emotional health. So find a news source. Find source that not that they tell you what you want to hear, but that you trust that you're aligned, and that what you're able to do is listen to them, gather information, and don't listen to 12 sources. Now, the call just came in. I have to figure out how to disable that. So one of the things I'm also doing is I kind of keep an eye on what the counter might be, but I don't spend a lot of time researching that. It's about staying informed and then just making decisions, using discernment, and it's not about if someone wants to say that I'm being a sheep and going along with everybody wearing a mask. You can say whatever the hell you want. I don't care, because I know that's not where I'm coming from. I'm choosing to make decisions based on what I think is right for me and others. And one of the things that I read in one of my news sources that I trust is the New York Times, as far as updates on the pandemic and cases and all that. And then, but one of the things was an interesting article was one of the writers interviewed world-class athletes that had contracted the virus and then recovered from it. And without exception, the thing that struck me was it kicked their asses. These are people that are way beyond me as far as physical shape and conditioning and all that. And they did the range. They were speaking with a marathoner, NFL football player, a martial artist, tennis players. And they were talking with them, and without exception, they were blown away by how long it took for them to get back to their game, how long it took for them to recover their energy. In fact, the runner, he flat out said he's experiencing a dose of anxiety that he's never experienced before because he can't get his breath yet. And he's like weeks beyond when he first contracted this. And so when I hear that, I just know I'm not in the kind of condition and shape they're in. I know I'm not in bad shape and condition, but I'm not like they are. And I don't want to experience that. So whatever I've got to do, now when I'm outside, I go run my neighborhood, I walk my neighborhood, I don't wear a mask. When I know that there's going to be, distance between me and other folks, I don't wear a mask. Outside, not at all. I love the fresh air and all that. When I am going to go to my Home Depot, I put a mask on. I go to my Trader Joe's, I put a mask on. I don't want to get sick. So I'm not being some wimp ass. I'm not being a follower. I'm not scared. I'm not walking around terrified. I don't want to get sick. Just like I would when the flu's going around. I don't touch you. I don't shake your hands. I wash my hands all the time. I've been doing that for years without getting a flu shot, and I don't get the flu. So I don't want to get this either. So I don't want to end this on a negative. I want to end this on an absolute positive. Let's be nice to each other, right? Let's stop making it about each other. Make personal decisions. I totally get. People want to get businesses back open because they're hurting. Man, do I understand that. And then at the same time, I want people to be smart about it. I'm still going to choose not to go to restaurants, not because I'm anti-restaurant. I'm not comfortable yet going into an enclosed place like that. I may find a patio place where if I can go to a Starbucks and have a coffee on the patio and make sure that I'm outside and all that, I may do that. But there's some things I'm not going to go into movie theaters, but I don't do it anyway. But I'm still going to choose not to go in enclosed spaces with prolonged periods of time, and I'm just going to choose not to do that for a while. And do I know when? I don't know. I don't know, but I'm not going to put pressure on myself, and I'm certainly not going to put pressure on others to do things and all that. The only thing I'm asking people to do in my circle is be honest with me. Just like I did with my Tina, my hair gal. Be honest with me about how you've been taking care of yourself, how you taking care of your station between customers and all that. But otherwise, I'm going to let you be you, and I'm going to ask you to let me be me. And let's be civil about it with each other. That's where civil liberties really comes in. Where I want to end on this on a positive is some of the things that I see are positive that have come out of, interesting that I use this word, take a breath. My life was operating at an insane pace. I love what I do. I love serving the companies that I go and serve. And I know that I was exhausted, and I was having a hard time finding balance in my life. And there were things that I still did, but if I scanned my entire life, it didn't look like I really wanted it to look like. And it didn't. And I know there are times when we're all just going to have to bust ass, and there's not going to be balance. I get that. And I've known that for years. I've been in my own business for 20 plus years, so I know. And my family knows, and so there's never an issue with that. But I didn't feel like I had my health the way I would like to. I didn't have all my time wasn't spent the way I wanted to spend my time. So what this allowed, when I went from 100 to 0, at first I was going, oh, what the fuck do I do? I really wasn't sure how I was gonna adjust. For a period of time, I was working my ass off, trying to get creative, trying to find out where my business game was going to get, and that was work. I was working hard before, but that was work. But one of the things I was able to settle into was trying to create a routine, and not from a place of discipline, but I found some ways to create rituals, to create routines, and found that I began to start loving the pace of my life. Now, I miss travel. I miss going down to Mexico, going over to Kauai, taking a couple of days out to Palm Springs. Fucking miss it. I really do. My wife does. While we're waiting for that to get back to normal, what I found is that I'm loving the pace of my life. My wife and we've had to navigate what being at home is, and creating separation. We've always done pretty good about separating my business from my home life, but it was a lot more at home. Learning how to be able to do that. But I find that I don't want to jump back into getting on a train at 4:30 in the morning, spending all day in Los Angeles working with the client and not getting home till 7 o'clock to turn around and do it again the next morning. I'm not excited about doing that. Now, as I've been navigating my way through my business, and I'm about 30% right now. So now I went to 0, so now I'm back up to about 30%, without freaking out and trusting where I am, but also appreciating the time to breathe, the time to catch my breath, the time to spend time doing what's really important to me. So what I've done now is I've created a morning ritual, and what I would invite you is, if this is important to you and you'd like to know how I'm doing it, reach out. I'm not gonna preach to that right now, but I've created a morning ritual where I get up, and there is time for meditation. There's time for doing something for my mind. There's time for taking my Spanish lessons, which is important to me because I love being down in Mexico, and I want to be able to develop that. Taking time to make sure that I take care of my physical, making sure that I take time to connect with my wife and my granddaughter and our son, if he's around, and all of this. And it's not because I'm disciplined, and I've found a way to be able to create some rituals. And I know that when I get back into my business, that I don't want to get back into the pace that I was operating before. And I'm learning to be able to find ways. And part of that trusting, and I know yours may be different as far as how you're getting back to your business and all that, and maybe you're not able to make kinds of adjustments. But I know that while I was not wanting to rush back into that, this week alone, one was a client that I'd worked with last year. Another was one that we were working, and we went from 100 to 0. That we're now back in communication to look at how it is that we can do what it is that we were doing in a different way, and scaling it way back to where I'm able to do it from my home office. They're able to do it from their place. And I mean, the first question my wife asked was, does that mean you're going to need to travel to Northern California for that one client? I'm going, no, we're actually going to figure out how to do it, where we are. And I love that. So I love that we're figuring out a way for me to go back and do what it is that I love doing without going back to a pace that I was not enjoying. So the piece that I want to offer in the end right here, it's so funny, a Prime truck goes by, is that me today? The piece that I want to end here is that if you haven't done, or maybe you're struggling to look for ways to see some positive in some of the time that we've gotten, or whatever may have changed in your world, and I want to be able to support you and help you in that. And that's not me asking you to hire. That's just reach out. I would love to be able to support you and just give you some ideas, and maybe I'll do a talk on that, on how I've done that, how I've created some routines around ritual, because I am not a disciplined cat at all. I fail at everything I try to discipline myself in. But I have definitely done that. And then when things start to pick back up again, how to then integrate this thing that I have found that is so damn important to me, and not go back to that other way. And I'll figure it out. And in all of this, interestingly enough, in all of this, I've also elevated my game and making sure that I bring in my coaches in, and I'm not trying to do this shit alone. And I have connected with others in ways that I hadn't before, because I'm moving so damn fast. It allowed me to slow down and look to see where I've got gaps, where I need support in things, and be able to do that. And not that I haven't got it all perfected and wired, but I love that I'm sitting here with you right now on a Saturday and not worried about what my Sunday is going to look like or my Monday is going to look like, and just being right here with you. So that's it. So the piece that I want to, if you will, the takeaway from this right here is however you're working through this, it ain't wrong. It ain't wrong, and I honor whatever it is that you're doing. And if because you needed to rush back to work, and hopefully you're doing it safe, you needed to do that, then by all means, I support you in doing that. And by the way, if you haven't looked into whether it's Chamber of Commerce or the city that you're in or the local county, there are tons and tons of resources to support you in doing that. And maybe you plugged into all of that, which I hope you have, whether it's financial aid. I know none of that did shit for me, but unfortunately we were okay. But there's still some resources out there. I'm seeing it pop up all the time. So if there's any ways that I can be able to support you, to connect you that way as well, I'd love to be able to do that. be nice to each other. Let's not lose our compassion in all this. And I know there's another whole other issue that just fucking smacked all of us starting about 10 days ago. I'm going to address that one as well. But let's not let that take us out of our civility toward each other as well. And let's be compassionate toward each other. And then the final piece is, use this time to find yourself again, to reconnect to that higher, better version of yourself. Now that we've been able to scale our life back a little bit, and it's simple right now, complicated in another way, but simple in other ways. And if there's any way that I'm able to support you, I'd love to support you, encourage you, and all of that. So I'm going to continue to let you be you out there and love you and support you in doing that. And let me do mine. Any way that I can support you, let's have conversation go right here. I'd love to hear if you've got other ideas or other sources that I may not be aware of, man. I'd love to hear about those, and let's let everybody know about that. Maybe there's news sources that you're finding that you're getting so much value from that I don't know about. Maybe there's other folks that'd like to know about that are just getting good, solid information that they can make choices around there. Please share with others. With that, enjoy the rest of your Saturday. I love that you tuned in. Keep your comments civil. It's okay if you disagree with shit. I'm good with that. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. Be nice. I don't want any meanness. All right. So be well out there. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Bye bye.